Desmond's Flicks is made possible by the incredible support from the Patreon community. If you'd like to help support the channel and keep it going, consider becoming a Patreon today. Link is in the description below. Plus, you'll gain access to awesome perks. Now let's get into the video. Leatherface was released in 2017 and was directed by Julian Maury and Alexander Bustillo, best known for their brutal French slasher Inside, and stars Stephen Dorff and Lily Taylor. After the success of Texas Chainsaw 3D, director John Lussenhop began development for a sequel. Unfortunately, the film failed to get greenlit. Enter screenwriter Seth M. Sherwood, who would later go on to write the screenplay for Hellfest in 2018. Sherwood pitched Leatherface as a prequel to the original film to Millennium Films, which got the attention of directors Maury and Bustillo. After being shelved by Lionsgate in 2016, Leatherface was released in 2017 to negative reviews and an abysmal box office of $1.5 million. Before we go any further, I will be going into full plot spoilers. So if you'd like to avoid these spoilers, skip ahead to the timestamp on screen. It's 1955. The Sawyer family is celebrating Jedediah's birthday. The family has caught a man accused of taking pigs from their farm. When urged by matriarch Verna Sawyer to kill the thief with a chainsaw, Jedediah is unable to kill the man. Grandpa, being the best at killing, gives one whack to the back of the thief's head, killing him. Later, Betty Hartman and Ted Hardesty are driving when they come across Jedediah Sawyer. Attempting to help, Betty follows him to a barn, where she falls into a makeshift ditch adorned with metal spikes. Fatally wounded, the Sawyer family drop a fucking car on her.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Sheriff Hartman is called to the crime scene, where he's shocked to find his daughters dead. Despite efforts by Verna Sawyer, Hartman takes Jedediah into custody and sends him to Gorman House, a youth mental institution. 10 years later, inmates are renamed to protect them from their dangerous families. Elizabeth White, a nurse on her first day at Gorman House, becomes close to an inmate named Jackson and Bud. Verna Sawyer shows up at the institution demanding visitation, only to have Dr. Lang reject the injunction. As she's leaving, Verna violates security, which causes a riot. During the ensuing riot, Elizabeth is saved by Jackson, only to be taken hostage by fellow inmates, Ike, Clarice, and Bud. They arrive at a diner where Ike and Clarice do their best natural-born killer's impression, then quickly flee the scene. When Hartman arrives at the crime scene, he figures out one of the inmates is Jedediah Sawyer. The group stumbles upon a mobile home. Ike and Clarice have a little three-way with a dead body.
Why?
Elizabeth tries to escape while everyone's sleeping. Ike finds her and attempts to assault her. He's interrupted by the rest of the group, who then lashes out at Bud in a fit of anger. Believing the rest of the group went back to the mobile home, Ike relieves himself on a tree. He's then attacked by Bud, who then curb stomps him into a rock like a true Gears of War veteran.
Oh, I like that crunch.
The next morning, Clarice can't find Ike and heads off to find him. Instead, she finds Hartman and is quickly apprehended. Hartman, being bored with Clarice doing her best white trash impression, shoots her in the head, killing her. The others watch horrified from a distance and begin to flee. Elizabeth screams for help as a police car passes, causing the deputy to notice them. A police officer begins calling for backup. Bud then does his best impression of a bullet sponge and then is shot in the head, which enrages Jackson, who then kills the officer. Jackson and Elizabeth steal the police car, but are pursued by Hartman. He opens fire on the pair, with one of the bullets blowing off part of Jackson's face, while another injures Elizabeth, ultimately causing the car to careen off the road. Later, Elizabeth wakes up at the same barn Betty was murdered in. She and Jackson are held hostage by Sheriff Hartman, who plans to kill both of them. He then gives an exposition dump on how Jackson is really Jedediah Sawyer. Unfortunately for Hartman, he took too damn long giving his monologue that the Sawyer family arrives to save Jedediah and give Hartman a proper beatdown before taking all three home. Verna stitches what's left of Jedediah's face, then fits him with a muzzle to hold his face together. She then leads him to where his brothers are holding both Elizabeth and Hartman captive. Verna gives Jedediah a chainsaw, who then bisects Hartman to death. Elizabeth flees into the woods, but is quickly caught in a bear trap. Elizabeth attempts to reach Jedediah, but Verna encourages him to kill her. Jedediah is having issues recalling events prior to being injured, and starts listening to Elizabeth. But as soon as Elizabeth starts insulting his mama, he takes one swift swing with the chainsaw and knocks her block off. As morning comes, Verna burns any evidence from the night's events, as the other Sawyers feed remains of the victims to the pigs. In the basement, Jedediah makes a mask out of Hartman and Elizabeth's faces. He applies lipstick to his new face in the mirror, then smashes the mirror, seeing his reflection as the credits roll. Leatherface is one of those films that gets worse after every rewatch. This was truly disappointing, as I love the director's other film, Inside. I expected so much, but was super let down. I know this is supposed to be a prequel to the original film, but I feel like this was handled so much better in the beginning. Plus, how is exploring the story of Leatherface interesting or scary? Why are we guessing who's going to become Leatherface? Everything about this concept falls apart, and there's not much to save it. Thankfully, we do get some good kills and gore, as well as good performances from both Stephen Dorff and Lily Taylor. Other than that, Leatherface brings nothing new to the table and feels nothing like a TCM film. The script feels like it's for a completely different film, then had TCM references jammed into it to tie to a franchise. With all that said, I'm going to give Leatherface a skip it. This is easily my least favorite out of the entire franchise, and I don't ever plan on rewatching it again. Big thank you to Patreon supporter Scott for requesting this franchise review of The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you'd like to request a horror franchise for me to review, become a Patreon today. Link is in the description below.